colorism is still very much a very big reality within the Latino audience, and I'm gonna in the Latino community. And I say that because I think it's been heightened by what we're living in right now. Welcome to This Life Reconsidered, and my name is Jenina. On this channel, I focus on personal development, self-care, self-discovery, positive thinking, and navigating that work-life hustle. If that's the kind of content that you think you're interested in, you may want to hit the subscription button. So this is a channel focused on personal development, self-care, self-awareness, and positive thinking. So I realized it'd be a little bit of a miss if I didn't exactly have at least one video that allowed me to kind of spotlight the importance and the value of identity and self-identification. I think it's important that I say, as a very, 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 very proud Latina, I have struggled with my identity my entire life, especially because I have tried to kind of, fit it very neatly into the black and white construct that American society is known for. As the child of Latin American immigrants, my parents are from Honduras and I'm first generation born in the US. I have always been very, very clear on my ethnic roots, and I have known them to be my truth. My people are descendants of the Garifuna people, a very rich lineage throughout Central America, one that I am extremely proud of, and one that I have found is one of the values and one of the traits that makes me especially unique within the Latino diaspora. And so I have been very, very passionate and intent on wanting to kind of own that and embrace that part of my identity. But as time had moved and as I got into my adulthood, and I started to surround myself in different circles in which I couldn't get as flowery and dramatic as I wanted to about my identity, I just kind of started shortening and abbreviating my history into this title Afro-Latina, because it allowed me to at least publicly acknowledge the fact that I am a Black woman, but my roots are from Latin America. And so you can't get it. You cannot misconstrue Afro-Latina. You're Black with roots from Latin America. And it's a very, very simple moniker that allows me to kind of be very, very direct without needing to kind of complicate a lot of different proof points, Now, I'm going to say it wasn't until though, as I kind of started to leave my own community and kept using that term, that I had realized that, colorism is still very much a very big reality within the Latino audience, and I'm gonna in the Latino community. And I say that because I think it's been heightened by what we're living in right now, because there is still a fear. And even though it's 2020, thoughts haven't fully matured to embrace the fact that there is Blackness within the Latino diaspora. There are a lot of educated people that understand that. Claiming that Blackness doesn't mean that you're owning it. It just means you're acknowledging the fact that it is part of a much broader and rich, beautiful culture. And I have had my own bouts where I've had to kind of not only deal with discrimination because I'm seen as a Black woman, but I've also dealt with discrimination amongst my own Latinos, because when I walk into a room, there's a switch to Spanish as though I wouldn't understand, or there's a stun there's a stunned look when I do respond in Spanish, and I shouldn't have to resort to those kinds of things in order to demonstrate a level of solidarity. And I have kind of also been especially marveled because there are also a lot of very, very negative stereotypes tied to Latinoism in this country. So I guess I struggle with the colorism because it's kind of like there's a desire to distance, and then there's also a lack of a desire to kind of embrace Blackness. And ironically, if there was much more solidarity even amongst like Latinos, regardless of shade, in partnership, there would already be a much stronger community. Imagine unifying and partnering with the Black community, because we have so many shared experiences. So my experiences have been, and in my case, I experienced, I don't get to hide being a Black woman. And I also face a lot of discrimination amongst my Latinos, and I think that that's just kind of because there's a comfort in not claiming this other identity just because. And so I don't know. I'm still kind of very optimistic and hopeful that there'll be moments, that there'll be more opportunities to kind of come together as a much more unified culture and much more self-aware diaspora. But Latinos still kind of, there's still too much sub-factions and too much division for it to feel like there's a unified Latino pride. So I guess with Hispanic Heritage Month, I don't have my pom-poms out fully and everything, because I think that there's still that bout of pride that needs to kind of be universally shared. And I don't know that the diaspora has really gotten there yet. And I feel like now, if ever there was a time that was going to happen, it would be now, when you realize that discrimination is live and alive and real, regardless of what it is that you look like. And now is a time when there should be a special heightened awareness that, it's time to kind of start unifying Black and Black and brown, and pulling that all together, because our plights are all pretty similar, and that there's power in a lot of strength. And maybe that's kind of overly romanticized, but I think that I've always have been very, very proud to be part of my diaspora, because I grew up celebrating that. But I also, it's times I also kind of struggle with it, because I don't feel like the culture has kind of been at a point where it's ready to fully unify. And so, and I don't use the terms, I don't place myself in a box as Afro-Latina, but I place myself in that active identification, because there's no hiding what I look like. And I don't feel like there's anything there's anything worth distancing myself from being Black. Like, I don't benefit from that. And so, as opposed to separating myself, why do I have to claim one and not the other? Why can't I be both? And for me, that is really, really essential, because it's just a part of my history, and it is kind of how I feel the safest and proud. And so, and I guess my call for other Latinos is to kind of embrace and celebrate their own identity, regardless of what country they are, etc., or skin tone, because unfortunately Latin America, that's how it is. You're morena, you're mestizo, you're mulata, you know, whatever kind of classifications. And that's what's been normalized. So regardless all of our shades, we should kind of all be kind of celebrating and embracing the fact that we've all kind of been through a battle and been through a plight, and we are all about kind of making sure that those plights don't keep dividing us, that they're just much more unifying us, regardless of how we choose to personally identify. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the term Afro-Latino, on colorism in the Latino community? I'd be so curious to kind of get your thoughts. This is one that I never really nailed down comfortably, but one that I feel is still very important to acknowledge is still very real, and hasn't dissipated regardless of what time we're living in and regardless of what year it is. Now we just have an opportunity to consciously train ourselves to think about it very differently. And that's just kind of, those are just my thoughts and just how I see it. I look forward to hearing from you. Let's see you on the next one.